So our inaugural Exquisite Find tea. This is kind of exciting. And again, these are the teas that aren't necessarily sourced in the most famed of tea villages. They're not sourced from tea producers we normally work with. They are just random bits of brilliance or chaos or flavor profiles that I think are interesting. And there are also teas that in the past I would have simply been obsessed over to put into my own tea collection. They offer up a great diversity in flavor profiles and in the regions from which they come from. They also, I think, vitally for me at least, offer up a great little narrative. And our first inaugural Exquisite Find tea is a 2019 autumn harvest of ancient tea tree raw materials from Pasha. And initially when I sipped this, it wasn't for sale. This wasn't a tea that was served to me during any tea deal. This was just simply a tea producing friend of mine offering up some of their family hooch, their family stash. And much like moonshine and great homemade wines and mead, this was something that a family had bought a small amount of from a source region that they preferred, which happened to be Pasha. And they made 357 gram traditional bingcha for their own enjoyment. And in fact, the tale of this tea was that it initially was only for family consumption. This wasn't for sale. The elders in the household preferred to drink this, and they did so in syrupy daily gallon sessions of consumption. And so that goes back to the Exquisite Finds. This is a tea that only existed in a very small amount. It had a great narrative. But most importantly with our Exquisite Finds, these are teas that offer something special in the cup, something special in terms of their flavor profile, and something special in terms of their small batch harvest size. So initially this family, Yangshi's family, only bought a few kilos of this tea, and there was no way they were going to part with it. And over the course of months, after having sampled this a number of times, there was finally an agreement that this tea should get some air time outside of Yunnan, outside of Yangshi's family. And so I acquired what was available, which wasn't much. And rather than put it in my own collection, well, some of it did make it into my own collection, we decided to make this available as our first Exquisite Find. And a good way to describe Pasha Gushu in particular is a sort of an informal mantra of Pasha teas that exists in southwestern Yunnan. It is one of the more forgiving offerings, and the mantra goes something to the extent where it's a very difficult tea to oversteep. It is a tea that is known for its gentle notes, its slight florals, and because of the gushu, because of the ancient tree raw material, it has a little less of that direct vegetal punch, and it is something that goes a little longer in the flavor compartment. It's a tea that you can infuse over and over again. But the most important element for me is what the tea does in the cup on the palate. And there are these long, sumptuous notes, deep, resonating notes. So our inaugural Exquisite Find, a 2019 Autumn Pasha Gushu Harvest. And when you're sipping this, I encourage you to, of course, give us feedback, but also pay a little respect to Yangshi's family and her aunties, which kindly allowed us to source just a wee bit of something we find very special.